bringing you a quick video. Just gonna show a bit on Google to get more quality.
And everybody was nice and kind.
Today, I'm here with my mentor, Brandon Martini through EO. We just took a flight above Riverside, which is always a fantastic way to spend a Friday. So I appreciate that. Been working together for roughly a year through the EO program, known you longer through the IE EO group as an SAP. So welcome. And we were flying and we said, hey, let's go shoot a short episode and see how it goes.
Yeah, absolutely. But he was like, "Hey, we got to go look at your bar, number one, at the office. We already went flying, so that's no longer a concern, right?" And and I want to check out the office. So this place looks great.
Nice. Thank you. Yeah, it was fun. We were just talking about doing it with my kids. It was a blast. So, oh man, there's so many things that we could talk about in this short span of time. But let's just kind of jump into where Stratus is at right now. Stratus is you had Next Gen, your flight school, sold that, started Stratus, which is basically student loans for pilots, right? Which was a hole in the market, from what I understand. You guys exploded with that. Now you're jet setting, touring the world, living the life. So just share a little bit of that with us.
Yeah, so I'll kind of tell you my background in the story on kind of how Stratus got started and really where aviation kind of came into my life. So back in the day, my grandfather, when I was growing up as a kid, he would talk about aviation his whole life. And he always talked about how he wanted to fly and how he started to in the 90s. And for some reason, my grandmother would never let him fly anymore after I was born. So I was born in '88. So when I was born, he pretty much stopped flying maybe a couple of years more after that. But he did mission trips and he flew in what's called a Cherokee 6. And he talked about this a whole bunch. So finally, one day, I found his logbook, like after he passed away, and I found his flight bag and headset, and he had one of these on, all the whole thing. And I was like, oh my God, this kind of brings me back all these stories. And I almost joined the military right out of high school, which was just right in the midst of all the wars in Afghanistan and stuff. So I ended up not joining. I wanted to join the military so I can become a pilot. And now, what I know now, I could have used, right? Because I know who to talk to and things like that. But before, I didn't really know who to talk to. I knew the recruiters that go around. So I ended up not joining then. I put my dreams to the side, like a lot of kids do, which I encourage them to never give up on their dreams. Go figure out how you can do it. Speaking of that, I go on like tangents every once in a while, but my son was telling me how he couldn't figure something out. And it's not possible. And I said, Austin, nothing is ever possible. My son's name is Austin too, by the way, if anybody is looking and curious about
this. Is not my dad.
Yeah.
I'm older actually. But
So I was telling Austin, I was like, hey, nothing is easy and you're going to have to figure out new ways to do different things. And it was something about some new website that he wants to like launch and do clothing line or something. He's like, he wants to be an entrepreneur, which is great. And I said, everyone will tell you no on how to do something. You have to figure out how to do it yourself. So point being, I should have heard that advice when I was his age, and I probably would have tried to pursue that. But I gave it up like a lot of kids did and didn't listen to my advice because I didn't know it back then. So my son, Austin, I hope he listens to my advice a little bit more often and he doesn't give up on certain things, right? With all that being said, I ended up finding his logbook and this was, I don't know, maybe a year after he passed away or maybe a couple of years, 2, 3, whatever it was. And I was really excited because it kind of brought back all these memories of aviation. So I told everybody on Christmas, if you want to buy me something, get me gift certificates. I want gift certificates to go to this local flight school at Chino Airport, which is down the street. And I ended up getting all these gift certificates, and it was like $1,500 from my friends and all my family and everybody around. And everyone thought, oh, Brandon's going through another phase. Like I always do. I always go through these phases, and I like something, and I totally go dive straight in and then give it all up. But as I've gotten older, I think I've stuck with them for some reason. So I don't know. Flying's probably the biggest one.
Yeah.
And it's been 11 years now.
Wow.
I took my first flight in like January 2nd of 2014, I think. Yeah, 2014.
So 9 years later, you took this is great for our audience, right? It's a business podcast.
Yeah, absolutely.
You took your first flight lessons in 2014, and you sold your flight school in 23, 9 years later.
In 2023, 9 years later, yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, I started the flight school in 2016.
Okay.
And I started it because I couldn't afford to fly. So I was
to get the next level of hours, like
I mean, I just wanted to fly in general. I mean, it's expensive. Back then, it was like $120 to rent an airplane for an hour. Now it's like $160, $150. and I couldn't afford it. I had a new son that was just, he was young, right? I mean, that was 2014. He was born in 2011. He was only 3 or 4 years old.
Yeah.
So I couldn't really afford flying, but somehow I pulled off the 10 grand I needed to pull off in 2014. I had it and I was able to do it. So I was an insurance appraiser back then, and I didn't make enough money to go do this. And I just wanted to go do it for fun. I didn't want to turn it into a career or anything like that. And the only time I ever thought about possibly going and getting my pilot ratings was so I can teach Austin one day. So I couldn't afford it. So I tell everybody that, hey, can I borrow 15 grand from all of my friends and all my family? And I ended up borrowing 15 grand from like 3 people.
Nice.
And I bought my first airplane, and I started a flight school with my old flight instructor.
With you were able to start a flight school with 15 grand.
From 3 people, so it was like 45 grand.
Okay. Not 5 grand each, 15 grand each. Okay,
Yeah, 15 grand each. And I had no money. So I just bootstrapped my way, and I borrowed money from a bunch of people, and I didn't give up ownership of the company until later.
Well, when you sold it or before then even?
Before that. So I was going to be 50-50 partners with my flight instructor friend, because without me, who was able to get the money to be able to buy the airplane, we needed an airplane. That was a big thing.
It's hard to do flight school without one.
Yeah. And then if I wasn't a flight instructor, I was barely a private pilot. So
you couldn't do it without him. He couldn't do it without you.
Yeah. So we were 50-50. 3 months in, him and I didn't get along at all in Riverside. And we started here at Riverside Airport, and we didn't get along at all. Minimum wage was raising only for fast food employees, up 50 cents.
Yeah.
And I've said, I'm not letting anybody work at McDonald's make more money than my 15-hour a week one employee, because that's all it was. And he was like, no, we're not going to do this. And I'm like, come on, it's like $8 a week more. And he was like, nope, we're not doing it. So at that point, I just thought he was way too cheap, and I didn't like it. So I asked one of my friends, hey, do you want to be a silent partner and buy this guy out? So bought him out for $10,000, which was a huge sum back then. For me, I mean, it's not a small sum. But
no, that was a great investment.
It was like the best investment ever. Yeah. So for my buddy,
wait, did they buy out half for 10 grand?
Half for 10 grand. It was a great investment for him, but he was silent, so it gave me 100% control.
Yeah, 100% control. And did they keep that ownership until you sold? And
he did, except he did get me lines of credit, and he was kind of my bank. He allowed me to use him as a bank. So whenever I wanted to buy and sell airplanes, I would borrow 150 grand from him.
Is this your current partner? Is that too many questions?
Different Anthony, actually. Different Anthony. Yeah. I like having partners named Anthony.
Apparently your Anthonys have money, so it's good.
Yeah, a lot of Anthony friends of mine have money.
I need more Anthonys in my life. Yeah.
Got to start with the beginning of the alphabet and work through. Luckily, I just had to start with
A.
You
didn't get very far. That's good.
Didn't have to get very far. So I did that deal with Anthony Gatto. He's still a great friend of mine. Just went to lunch the other day.
Nice.
And we ended up moving the business along for years and years and years, and there were really tough times and really great times. I mean, I was telling you today how much fun it was just flying around, because that used to be my normal daily thing, and like teaching students once or twice a day, going flying and just enjoying myself.
Sounds amazing. It really does.
It was amazing, and I miss it. But there was something freeing about like the stresses about airplanes breaking, and that's a pretty low profit business. When it's good, it's good. When it's bad, it's really bad.
If something goes bad in an engine or something, there's the profit for the month or the next few months or whatever.
It could be $50,000.
Yeah.
Something happens to a radio, that could be $10,000. So when something breaks, even if somebody just spent $150 on an hour, well, something breaks and now it's $10,000, $20,000, $50,000.
Yeah, to fix that. And
then you lose the revenue for 1 to 6 months. I mean, I lost revenue for a year one time on an airplane.
Really? And you're paying to store them. They do like your annual checks and stuff like that. Like insurance. They're not cheap to keep just parked even.
No, they need to fly. Yeah. And while they're sitting, they don't just make less money. They also cost you money. When you don't use an engine, it's not going to get better.
No.
You're going to get buildup inside of them. Things are just not going to go right.
Yeah, seals are going to dry or whatever.
Yeah, so ended up, long story long, that's my whole fun saying that I always say on my podcast called Aviation Mentors, if anybody's curious about it.
Check it out. It's awesome.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. We talk all aviation stuff, and it's pretty fun. But with all that, I noticed that we had a real need for financing. So I reached out to a different Anthony Gerasi, my current partner, and I said, hey, I've got this idea, and he kind of shined it off at first, and then he started talking to some of my employees employees at Nexton when he came in because he learned how to fly at Nexton as well.
Oh, nice.
And we were just talking quite a bit. And eventually he came in and was like, Brandon, I'm not going to help you with your financing that you want to do in-house finance, because that's originally what I asked him to help with. He was like, we're going to start a business. I'm like, what are you, crazy? Like, we're going to start a finance company? I'm this pilot guy, knows flight schools. He was like, yeah, but I know finance and I know the lending laws, and I happen to have a lending license like on the shelf, built into a company, ready to go. I was like, that sounds ridiculous, but you're a pretty ridiculous guy. Let's do this.
It's
And
wild.
so am I. I mean, I'm a little crazy, but you're way more crazy than me. His crazy is rubbed off on me now. Now I like have these crazy ideas.
Really? His crazy seemed to work for him. I'll give him that.
His crazy does work, but his crazy is like brutal. Brutal plus crazy equates to big money signs. So we ended up starting Stratus and started off with 1 employee in the Philippines. And now today we have 101 employees.
It's wild.
It's been a fun atmosphere.
You're writing a ton of loans, tied into a ton of. How many schools are you lending through at this point? And what's your goal for 25?
Yeah, we have almost 300 flight school partners now. We work in, I think, 31 states, maybe more than that, something around there.
Mm-hmm.
And we want to originate 110 million or 120 million this year in new loans originated. And so far, we've originated 70 million in this industry.
Wait, in the 2
It's really
3 years?
been
2 years?
2.5 years.
2.5 years.
It's been 4 technically, but we really
So
didn't do very much in the beginning.
You're damn near trying to double your all-time origination in this year.
Yeah,
From 70 ever to 130, 120, 130, not 140, but still.
And I think that's kind of a conservative number, actually.
Wow.
Yeah, people have went out of business in this industry. They just treat it like other industries, and our industry is not like that. It's very different. You need to know how pilots think. The psychology of becoming a pilot is pretty intense. You got to think about the person who wants to go fly in the sky and doesn't get intimidated. I know, like
today, I don't. How steep can we dive this safely? You're like, oh, all right.
That's what he said. I was like, oh, I was thinking about taking us like up and over the mountain on a nice gentle thing. We go over Dana Point and like go do a circle and like look for some whales. Like that's what was on my mind.
Cool too, though. But
it would be cool. So that's what we were gonna do today. And you were like, oh, can we dive this thing? And I was like, yeah.
Well, I see. So we went out and he let me fly a little, which was amazing. And then you're just doing some test maneuver, like you stalled it and you're just doing some little things. I was like, oh, so he's kind of playing around a little bit, seeing what it does. So can we do with this? You're like, I was like, yes. And you looked over like, how was that? I was like, yep, anytime, please.
Yeah, I looked around. We were in a practice area, so we were doing practice maneuvers. So it was in a safe environment, all that stuff. And I was looking around, and I was like, I looked down below. Is it clear? Yeah, it's clear. And we're away from the hills. We're away from people, away from buildings. Let's go ahead and do this. Perfect.
Yeah. In case, it's a test, emergency test maneuvers or whatever.
Yeah,
right?
we were basically what I was doing when we were doing that was simulating if there was like a fire, like an engine fire.
Oh.
And that's how you put out an engine fire. So if you heard me on the radio, I said simulating emergency resets.
Yeah.
And that's essentially what we were doing because that was the maneuver. So
also, you over oxygen, like you blow it out, suffocate it with too much air, too much oxygen or whatever instead of.
I mean, there's other things you do, like turning off all the fuel.
That's a good idea. Yeah. Otherwise, you're making a blowtorch, I think.
Exactly. So there's other things you do as well, but basically that's what you would do to blow out the flame.
Gotcha.
So
you have a limited amount of time. Matter of fact, it's 3:45.
Yeah,
right.
We've got about 5 more minutes.
Okay, so in that 5 minutes, you have a lot of experiences. You're my mentor with my company. In EO, the sayings like you're allowed to give advice, you don't really tell, which is great. You learn a lot from it. But I'm definitely somebody that's pretty receptive to just fucking do this, whatever, right?
Absolutely.
And you give me a couple of those, which have been really good for my business. I appreciate that. So with knowing that the audience here is startups, entrepreneurs, civic leaders, just a broad group of people, but what is a few nuggets you could give them about just having a good foundational business, right? Some things that could maybe apply to most businesses that you just really need to think through. And if you have those things in place, your chance of success is going to be a lot higher.
Yeah, I would say the first thing, I don't know. I don't know why this was the first thing that came to my head, but probably because it's the one that gives me the most nightmares, is accounting. Make sure that you have a solid foundation on your accounting. Not just a foundation with your own knowledge, which is also important, but make sure you have a team that helps you with that. Now, granted, you could find somebody in other countries, in like the Philippines, where you can get somebody for less than $1,000 a month, which is great money for over there. By the way, that's like
the average annual income is $500 or a monthly is like $500.
Yeah, so that's
So
like double
1,000
their
is a
income
good living.
and way cheaper than us, right?
Yeah.
So you can get somebody over there that works 40 hours a week and just does accounting, and they have like an accounting degree. So I would say get a really good foundation with that.
Now, when you say good foundation, is that mainly like the bookkeeping, make sure you know your P&Ls and that kind of stuff, or is it also like the planning, the financial planning, the tax planning? I guess all of it applies, right? But
All of it really applies.
that's a big.
But if you don't have the basics down, like you don't even use QuickBooks, I'll tell you this. I went to go buy a business. I really want like a wine bar really badly. And I've been looking around and I found this pizza place that I thought I can kind of convert. And I asked them, oh, can you print me your P&L and balance sheet or something? Even if it's like junk, I figured he can at least go to QuickBooks or whatever he uses or Xero. I prefer the system.
Well, they should have
Xero
like a
for small business.
POS, or they should have things.
He had a POS, but he's never put anything in an accounting system. So I said, okay, now I need all of your bank statements for 2 years. I said, I need you to give me those. And then what I did is I went and highlighted every single one of them. I did this on like Christmas Eve with all my family.
Nice.
They were like, what are you doing right now? He said,
Working.
I said, I'm always working.
I'm working on my own Christmas present.
Yeah,
A wine bar.
I want a wine bar really badly. By the way, I'm starting my level 3 WSET in 3 weeks.
I have no idea what any of that is.
It's a wine certification.
Oh.
So sommelier class. So
okay.
there's four levels. I'm already 1, 2. I'll be number 3. Yeah, I'm much better at it than you actually.
You have to teach. Oh, you do the good swirl. Okay. Hold up, check it out. So so have your books, have your QuickBooks. I don't mean to cut you off, but I know we want to give some out to there.
Yeah, you gotta have your books ready. I would say that's kind of number 1. Number 2 is know your numbers. You hear it on like Shark Tank all the time, like know your numbers, and people don't know their numbers ever.
Yeah, I put it on a shirt because I was going to make a marketing camera. Just on the digital marketing side, people don't know their numbers, right? So that was going to be. I agree.
I mean, know what it costs for marketing. Like, what does it cost to get a customer, right?
Yeah.
Know what it costs for your product. Like, do you sell a phone case?
Yeah. Do you have a cost of goods, or do you have your labor cost of goods?
Yeah, and really know it. I mean, if you just say, well, it normally costs me this. Well, how about if you take all of the labor that it takes when you go drive to the store? Let's just say you print off T-shirts, right? Let's say you print off a run of 500 T-shirts. Okay, you know how much that cost. If you have it shipped to you, you know how much that costs. Now, if you don't have it shipped and you go pick it up, what does it cost you in your time? How much is your time worth?
Yeah.
To drive there, to drive back,
and the
to
gas,
load it, to unload it, the gas, the mileage on your car, all the little things add up. Now, that's a really silly, very basic example, right? But still, everything matters. I mean, do you buy promotional products?
How do you know what to charge if you don't know what it costs?
Yeah, exactly. And a lot of people shoot themselves in the foot and never charge enough. And then the last thing I'd probably say is charge what it's worth.
Now, okay, so on the charge one, I just want to, my cleaning guy came in and he was telling me, and I think this would be a good one for people, is he was, complaining about cash flow, whatever. And I was like, when was the last time you raised your prices? Right? He goes, it's been a few years. I was like, one, in this market, like with everything going on in the world right now, there's no reason not to raise your prices. If don't do it just to screw people, but keep up with times. And the worst case though is with inflation, everything going on, he's devalued his time because now he's making the same amount of money and that money is worth less, right? So I was like, dude, just reach out, raise my prices 10%, call your people, tell them, otherwise you're not going to be, this is why you're having these cash flow issues, right? Because you haven't at least kept up, there's a reason there's a cost of living increase in a salary, right? It's the same thing. You should be doing it with your business. I mean,
essentially, whatever you were charging in 2019, you should be charging 50% more. If you were $100, you should be now $150.
We're double, and we're not. So our website prices, we doubled last year. We're not doubling this year. We're probably up 50%. We're still at a competitive price for the quality that we do. I mean, there's somebody will do a website for $500, somebody will do it for $500,000, and somewhere in the middle, it's all kind of the same product at the end of the day. But yeah, and we've sold more websites at the higher prices and had easier customers to deal with, unfortunately, right? Because as the price points increase, people's understanding and expectations change too, mostly for the better, I've experienced. But so that's important.
I mean, I would really say that when you charge, don't just keep on charging less. Like I remember when I first started NextGen, I was in a race to the bottom. I was like, I need to undercut everybody else because I need to be the cheapest one out there.
Yep.
No, I do not.
You literally drive the whole market down with you because they're doing the same thing if they see it happening.
To be honest, I prefer nowadays to be the most expensive product. But that also comes with a couple other things. If I'm the most expensive, I better be good in other ways because I'm going to suck at price. but I better
Yeah.
be fantastic at service.
You're going to suck at price, but you're going to be a deal on value, right?
Yeah, exactly. It's not. Are you? I was watching something the other day, and it was the CEO of Hermes, and the interview person said, people say that your products are expensive, and he says, my product's not expensive. It's he used some other word. It just cost more or something like that.
Yeah.
And then he said, expensive is something that you pay for something and you get no value. He said something that costs more, you get the value because of the labor and all the details that went into it. He used a different word that I really wish I knew what it was, but it really truly made sense. Like, don't just make something expensive to be expensive.
Yeah.
Make something worth more because it has much more value to it. And I think you can do that with time. You can do that with products. You can do it with anything. So.
Yeah, available. Like our industry, I mean, even just the fact that we're always available. I don't want to say always, right? We all have things going on, but we're very responsive. We're very, the same day you're getting a response, usually the same hour, usually when you call, right? So like that's one little thing that we try to make sure we do, because those little, especially in our industry, those little things can go a long way.
Speaking of, the last thing that I'm going to kind of leave this up so we can kind of wrap things up, but a lot of people don't trust anybody. And that's fine. You're never going to find another person that's going to be as good as you or as trustworthy as yourself, right? But you also just need to allow yourself to let other people into your business and to do the things. I remember I went to an EO event when I first got started with EO, and the person said, and it was like the most impactful event I ever went to, still today. And it was a guy named Scott Fritz. He's still around. He's still on the circuit. He's got a book called The 40-Hour Work Year.
I just listened to it.
Okay. Yeah, I think I told you about it. And I love that book. And I loved his talk. And it was the most impactful talk still today that I ever had with EO, being at my stage of business. And it wasn't because, hey, you can work very little in your business. It was because, hey, what are you doing in your business where your time is not worth it? And the biggest thing that I took away on that was I spent like 6 hours a week or every other week doing payroll. And why did I need to do payroll?
Right. You don't.
I don't. So the moment I got back from that event, I trained my office manager how to do payroll, and she did payroll 98% as good as me. I think she messed up on 1 week in the year, and it was easy. We just fixed it. No big deal.
Yeah.
Didn't cost me anything, but I saved.
So you spent 1 hour that year fixing the issue instead of the entire year running payroll.
Correct.
So
and now I have this amazing assistant named Kathleen. She runs my calendar. She runs my life. She has emails that she sends me and like, hey, what do we want me to respond to this? She creates drafts in my inbox. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, it's amazing.
The things that people can help with. And it just makes you better, and it'll make you a better individual for your family, make you a better individual for your relationships, make you a better individual for your business.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. I just listened to Essentialism, and have you listened to Essentialism?
No,
I think you'd like that too. It's along the same lines though. It's like, think about what you're doing and why you're doing it, and is it essential to doing it, is the Cliff Notes version, right? But it's much more in depth. So thank you, sir, again, for flying, for being here, for having a drink with me, for being my mentor, for all the great advice. You're a stud. Thank you.
Thank you. Had a blast.
Right on.
Appreciate it.